chaitwa METAMORPHOSIS. Jifundishe, elimika na mwelimiki.
All praise unto the Most High. His last year. Rastafari. Abolish slavery right now. Pharaoh let my children go. Hey. Africa prepare, cause I'm coming home. Black man prepare, cause we going home. Africa prepare, I and I coming home. People prepare, cause we are going home. The joy you bring you, my song I sing you, the fire within you, the struggle continue. Let's just begin you. We got to win you, the prosecute and trim you, still praise the king you. Got to be bold and brave, they call you. Settle us, they call you. Peace slave, now look at you. With the length of days, give praise. Fire of the blaze. Africa prepare, cause I'm coming home. Black man prepare, cause we going home. Africa prepare, I and I coming home. People prepare, cause we are going home. No equal rights, no justice, no schools, no jobs. The more they use the focus. They do some farming, me get up, blow me focus. Babylon can't touch this. Look to the east for the crowning of your king. That's the way you are should go. Best most I ever live in God a place. And I'm living in a white flow. Africa prepare, cause I'm coming home. Black man prepare, cause we going home. Africa prepare, I and I coming home. People prepare, cause we are going home. They're spreading propagandas because they want to start a thing. And the backstabbers, they slander and they touch all sort of thing. No, I'm the light of the world. What a thing. Bundum Rome, Bundum Babylon, they can't stop fighting. They always fight us. Them not go make me frost. I come to lead the mass. All them are chat. Sarah, just a fun Babylon, I'm not here. I ain't giving up. Keep on living up. I'm indigenous. What the money will I still see? I draw. Rastafari. Kill the rain in the heart of all flesh. The conquering lion. Crown king of kings, lord of lords, with the lioness. So you know, repatriation is a must in Africa. Boom. That's the man we taking over. And we've got nothing to fear, we taking over. Righteousness, me declare we taking over. And we've got nothing to fear. Come on, let me see your reds in the air taking over. And we've got nothing to fear, we taking over. Righteousness, me declare we taking over. And we've got nothing to fear. Come on, well up at yo, cause a full time now. Let that trumpet sound, a full time now. Babylon going down, a full time now. Let the youth them we are the ground. Yo, in the country on the down. Hungry before keep the close, sick minorities protected. Infants be cared for. Me and Babylon now go far. Tell them me and dirty Babylon always a war. Now go beat me and none of them cookie jar. Police boy for lax, but a mar, him go mar. The soldier boy for lax, but a mar, him go mar. So him and the pub and the bitch, one go bar. Flash the last, flash the lightning, that me tell the gun bar. The last I roll the thunder, that me tell the gun bar. Them last them ways, them no know who them are. Well let me tell you you're the right and a morning star. No for them a black, most of them a top and all. King Selassie is the Almighty.
We from Africa, with the intention to steal our culture. That's good for the past by and said, humble yourself, my children. Humble yourself, my little one. Humble yourself. Oh, my brother,
Eli, Metamorphosis here. Dr I MAN BLAK, live, StylzFM.
Chant down no Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down Babylon. Give thanks and praise.
Tinastilin. Giving thanks and praises to have the health and the strength to chant down Rome. Have no issues with Babylon. We're chanting down Rome. We're chanting down Rome.
Celia, give thanks for all those who are tuned in to StylzFM, whether you are on the radio or you're in cyberspace. We say hail to all ones and ones. Jamaica Island, we're still going through, heading towards the middle of the month of October, the month that has been declared to be Heritage Month. And so, I'm always trying to find split the differences between the things that they tell us and what detracts us and what creates the deception. And in February, we were locked into Black History Month. And in October, now we're into Heritage Month. So it seems as if Black history is separate from heritage. It looks as though the history of Black people is separate from the history of the Africans, the heritage of the Africans. So what is it about? How is it we're celebrating Heritage Month after coming out of Black History Month? What are the differences between the heritage and our history? So the constant confusion reigns amongst I and I as people based upon how Rome established this order. And so the metamorphosis consistently explores and examines some of the structures and the ways in which Rome has held firm and has maintained this global racial hierarchy, with the majority of the world's population being Black people, usually and always at the bottom. So this metamorphosis now will look, of course, into some of the differences that we may can able to find between heritage and history. But then we want to really use this program to investigate 3 particular disciplines that we have been exposed to from childhood to now. One of them is called science. One area is called science. Another area is called religion. And these 2 areas or disciplines tend to be set against each other. So there's always this confrontation and conflict once people engage in reasoning or discussion or talk about either or the other, science or religion. So how do I and I come to unity as a people when we have a serious divide even in our ideology, our viewing these 2 things? So part of the way I think we can use to resolve this setup, this conflict that has been set up, is to use another tool. The tool that we can use, or the discipline that we can use, is philosophy. So we can use philosophy then to sort of examine the similarities and the differences between religion and science, and to ultimately, as a people, determine which discipline we need to apply ourselves to transform our condition.
Do we spend more time in the discipline of religion, or should we spend more time in science? What should be the philosophy? So this metamorphosis will attempt to start this process. I also want to look at the notion of heroes, because in this month we are also celebrating our heroes, the heroes within the Jamaican landscape. But as a Black international, heroes must be taken up within a broader context in defining heroes within the Black man tradition. So, in examining ourselves, I find that we have a whole set of heroes I have been exposed to. Heroes, of course, are images, are sometimes real people, sometimes they are fictitious. So, for example, we have heroes in the comic books. Yeah, we have comic book hero. No, I'm going to ask us if you never used to read any kind of comic book. You have any hero who you used to read enough about in a comic book? I just read every comic. Well, you can't get, so you never have a hero, no star boy, I just don't want to confess to say Two Gun Kid was your hero. Well, all right. Well, we tend to draw heroes. If not in comic books, we can go to the movies. And out of the movies, we see dramatic acting, and roles are played. And within the whole role playing, then we find that there are heroes and there are villains. And we tend to want to line up ourselves behind the heroes automatically. But I want to say to the item now, as a Rasta man, I find it cute to speak about heroes from the Rastafari perspective, and at the same time try and embrace the nature of what the Roman society claim to be heroes. I find that there's two different kinds of heroes. Because if I am in a position of oppression, and people within the oppressed group rise up to help to redeem them people and them condition, they're not heroes to those who control the society. They're not heroes to the oppressors, they are troublemakers. Yeah, them causing trouble, them stirring up the masses, them getting people to think. So they are not heroes, they are troublemakers. They are labeled as mischief makers. So the hero is a concept that will help to define by perspective. Who does the hero benefit? So Christopher Columbus is considered a hero in Spain. I mean, he never really come from Spain, but the Spanish government sent him out to be the conquistador and bring back glory to Spain. So he was a hero there. But amongst the Taino people, is a man who come and helped to initiate genocide. So nobody from the perspective of Tainos could ever look at Columbus as a hero. So what I'm saying now, I must begin to review the people that we hold in this great esteem as heroes and examine how did they get to that status. So we have, in Jamaica, a set of heroes and one heroine. So before we even get introduced to them at the public school, we get introduced to the biblical heroes. All the way. All the way. Before we could even talk and call a name. We hear stories, and all of these stories have a hero-villain context to it. So we start here Bible stories in Sunday school. And when we want to talk about now science and religion and philosophy now, Iman put out a question. And the question was, which is older, the earth or the sun? That question has been out about 2 weeks now and getting all sorts of answers. Generally, it's one or the other. There's also the question as, which is it true that the sun is stationary? So people in trying to resolve those questions now, I find now they have turned to one or two disciplines to answer the question. They might have turned to science, or they turn to religion, which is a very serious observation. Because if I ask you to ask yourself the question, which is older, the earth or the sun? What would be your point of reference to answer that question? And it's for most people in the Western world, it ends up being the Bible. It ends up being the Bible that's going to provide an explanation along a line where the scientific mind have a different response. So, the heroes and the stories that we get, how we view science and religion, I am saying now we must begin to be able to view some of these questions beyond science and religion, outside of science and religion. And it means to embrace a tool, as I said earlier, of philosophy, which really examines now the reasoning and the logic that the both disciplines provide. What does science say about the question, which is older? What does the Bible say? So I find that is that divide out there, and we're going to try to work our way through that for each individual come to their own clarity as to what is what and what is not. So, metamorphosis, also want to just glance through the heroes, the biblical ones, Moses, for example, and Samson. We want to look at Samson and his follies. And how can we embrace this man as the strongest man? What does it say about Hercules? What does it say about Atlas? Is it a matter of culture? In the same way we talk about wise men, is it a matter of culture? Or is it something global? Is it racial? We're thinking it through in this Heritage Month. Metamorphosis.
A place to rent, seeking employment or have a job vacancy? Are you selling a car or having a garage sale? Then come see us. Let Styles do the advertising for you and you'll be on your way in no time. Contact Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Advertising style. Advertise with Styles.
Are you sick of living an average life and tired of just getting by?
Do you want to take your life to the next level? Learn the secrets of the super successful. Listen to Power in a Half Hour with Coach Mark this and every Wednesday night on StylzFM from 9 to 10 p.m. Learn the habits of the super successful and how to make these habits work for you. Learn to turn your dreams and desires into reality.
You can win in the game of life.
Let Coach Mark show you how. Every Wednesday night on StylzFM from 9 to 10 p.m.
Watch an American supermarket in association with Big Rock Promotion. Presents Cheap and Clean all-white beach party. Crates and Mugs edition. Place to be Ennis's Beach, Long Road, Portland. Heroes Day, October 15. I know it's a Monday. Admission $400, pre-sold $500 at the gate. Special guest DJ Kentucky. Feel like heroes fun them, me know me, ya will a beach vibes, yeah me. Feel like, them try stop me, they must be living in a dream life, cause we cheap and clean, all white, 12 noon till 12 midnight, like so.
DIB Block Factory and Hardware Supplies Limited, your home for the widest selection of building materials and hardware supplies in Portland. Shop everything from plumbing to electrical to home decor. Find unbelievable prices on tiles, toilets, basins, faucets, shower enclosures, vanity sets, doors, windows, lumbers, and much more. Get up to 25% off at DIB Hardware the last Friday and Saturday of every month with their mega month-end sale. Visit any 3 locations in Portland, Buff Bay, St. Margaret's Bay, and Port Antonio. Call 993-4415. DIB Hardware. Your foundation starts with us.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill, they offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
It is not good to travel today, neither across the ocean. Deserts so dry, water thirsty you. Too good to travel today, neither to cross the ocean. Deserts so dry, water thirsty kill you. Kill you, kill you, kill you. Kill you, kill you. When it waits, when it down, it cramp your belly. Don't want to see you on the ground. Don't want to see you on the ground. The ground, the ground, the ground. Caution, my brother, caution, take it. Black soul, you black as shit. So black, so black. So blind, so blind. I'm proud, I'm blind. I'm proud, I'm blind. I'm rejoicing, I'm blind. Who no black, now go black again. Who no black, now go black again. So blind. So blind, oh, so blind. Two more things for I to tell you right now. Two more things for I to tell you right now. Two more. My old great-grandmother, mother, great-great-great-great-grandmother, mother, she's black, so black, yeah, she's black.
A people without a knowledge of themselves is like a tree without roots. A people without a knowledge of themselves is like a tree without roots. And the roots of black people are deep. Tell them, Burning Spear.
Just good to travel today.
rolling through into I word, sound, and power, dealing with identity. And there's always a jingle around the phrase that if you don't know yourself, like you are a victim to those who know themselves. And if you don't know where you're coming from, you don't know, you can't tell where you're going. Of a whole lot of little phrases and cliches built around that. But what is the practical, philosophical reality around those cliches? And you have to go into the concepts and ideas and the philosophy of origin. Because this is what we're trying to talk about. What is our origin? What is our foundation? And origin is not 2,000 years ago. Origin for black people goes into as way beyond Lucy. Lucy recorded at 3.5 million years old. So when we talk about origin, the way black people have been given ideas about origin comes basically from two main disciplines. And the first discipline that we get it from is religion. Because I will pose the question again, which is older, the earth or the sun? You have an idea, Cass? What would you say? Which one you think is older in terms of time? The earth or the sun? Because we're asking our listeners to give it a thought. So, Cass said the sun. There are some people who say the earth. There are many, many people who also say the earth. No, just this evening here, in looking at it, I'm saying maybe it's neither. maybe they're both the same age, but that would take us into a different road of examination. But we're given a choice. We're given the choice that one is older than the other. Because why? The book that we have been given to read from the earliest level of our introduction to knowledge is the Bible. And unfortunately, the Bible now becomes the source of nearly everything that we need to make reference to, including things that are scientific. This is an interesting point, I think. So you ask a question that has to do with the heavens. And people reference it to the book of Genesis. Because is it in that book that they hear about the heavens and the earth? And the darkness and the lights being formed and this and that and darkness up and so I am saying to my listeners now that introduction that we get to the origin of everything around us wasn't scientific. We never got a scientific introduction. The introduction we got was through religion and the Bible stories. And then when you begin to read the Bible story now, you begin to have a conflict in the sequences. So you have to ask a little deeper question about the nature now of how we as black people now deal with scientific issues. Are we going to reference scientific issues to the Bible when we have been a scientific people for thousands of years before even the first European came out of a cage, before any books were written in English? So where is our scientific self? So I ask again, is the sun stationary? And they would have vast amount of responses saying all sorts of things. But is it? I ask you, and how do you define and defend your own response? And you know that some people went to the Bible again to find a justification to say that the sun is stationary, that the sun don't move because Joshua commanded the sun to stand still. And you have intelligent people who are educated, who are knowledgeable in science, but still hold on to that line as a reality. So how do you really go? How do we identify our origins? Do we look to religion? Do we look to science? Do they converge at a certain point? And what is it that black people are searching for in this context of being origin? So we get a book. And the book informs us in the very first pages that there was a beginning, that there was a creator, and that there were the heavens and the earth. I want to reflect a little bit on those simple lines and consider the language called English. Consider the tools that we have to use to decipher English and some basic laws to English. And I just want to speak to masculine and feminine, singular and plural. These are two operations in English. And if you really don't understand those basics, it's hard to even read the language. Masculine and feminine, singular and plural. So when we begin to read those first two lines that says, in the beginning, we have to consider time. And so this is why I know we can ask a question. Since there is a beginning, something must be more ancient than the other thing. Because things are going to appear in time unless they appear at the same time. So the sun, as we observe, is an integral point and a crucial position it holds for survival on the earth. In other words, I'm saying, is it not possible that the sun can exist without the earth being here? But can the earth exist without the sun? Can there be any form of life on earth without the sun? We have the Mars as an example, where it has a sun, the same sun shining, but there's no life on the surface. So which is more critical? Is it the earth or is it the sun? Just think about that. Metamorphosis.
Anna sir, Tenastilin, Dana Xavier Yimasgan, Sata Amasagana.
This is it, originally. Thou shalt not steal, said the Almighty. The King of Kings is here, rules eternally.
Honor and majesty is before him. A false witness shall not be unpunished, saith the Lord.
To eat from thine own vineyard is sweet to the soul,
but to steal from thy brethren is bitter to the belly.
Behold, how good and how pleasant it is.
All ancient cultures worshipped the sun, S-U-N, as the Almighty. All ancient black cultures recognize the sun as the center of existence as far as life is concerned on this plane. So, from a scientific perspective, the ancients realized that the green plants depended upon the sunlight to create starch and food for the plants and man to eat. The ancients recognized chlorophyll and photosynthesis and all of those scientific natural principles. Recognize that the green plants are the key to survival on the surface. As these plants provide not only food and medicine, but they also provide oxygen for the animals and for man to breathe. This is not religion. This is science. This is understanding the forces of nature. So all ancient cultures, thousands and thousands of years, recognize the centrality of this SUN. The Aztecs, the Mayas, the Egyptians, the Orientals, all black cultures. It's only one culture that was alien to sun culture. It's the white man, ice man culture, the European, Caucasian. That is the culture that is alien to the sun culture. And so when that culture began to spread out of Europe and began to infect the rest of the world, they also brought with them their religion. And here is where the problem began to become problematic. Because the religion that these people brought would contradict science, as I knew. For example, even the science of procreation. They would come with an idea that procreation didn't require a male sperm for procreation. An egg and a Holy Ghost could do it. We have been knocked off our scientific foundation because of these teachings by these aliens. The culture that they bring and their philosophy has been encaptivating. And so it's a struggle to find our origin. It's a struggle to establish identity. But it's about perhaps revisiting the things that we think we know. And the things that we thought that we shouldn't bother question because that is given. We have to revisit the given. So the earth in the biblical story was dark, and the Creator, God, then put two lights, one for day and one for night. And obviously, we don't interrogate the language in the way we should, because the simple lines, it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now, again, make a pay attention to masculine and feminine and singular and plural. And our English language have to agree to make sense. So if in the beginning God created, the concept of God right there is a singular concept. Because if they wanted to say more than one God, they would have put an S. Those are the way and the laws of English. But they're trying to convey to the I and I mind that the concept of God is a singular concept. So it says, in the beginning, God created. Then it says the heavens and the earth. Now, if it says heaven, it means it's singular. If it says heavens, it means it's plural. What does it say? It says the heaven and the earth. But what is critical is that the earth is singular. So you have a singular God that is creating the heavens and a singular earth. And so we locate ourselves now within the context of that story on the earth. Remember now, we get this story when we come into the Western world. Because we're told about how the thing begin. So, what do we hold on to now when we have science that tells you that the earth has its own evolution process, where there are plants and animals, what we don't have any explanation of in a tangible way outside of mythology is how man appear. How does the consciousness appear in its ancient form to manifest as man? But In the present dispensation, for those who have to try to resolve the notion or the question about whether the earth is older or whether the sun is older, you have to realize that the sun is at the center of a system. The sun is at the center of our solar system that has several other planets. So the ancient black cultures who recognized that didn't see the sun as the center of the universe. They saw the sun as the center of a solar system. What the Europeans have come and done is disturb our construction towards the solar organization, because now that they have taken control, they have now put forward theories to explain that the earth is just a planet circling the sun and is therefore an insignificant object going through space. And I want them to stop and think a little bit, because before this notion, the ancient black cultures had the vision and the idea that the mind of man was at the center of the universe. The mind of man was at the center of the universe. The Europeans have shifted that notion and have moved the center of the universe away from man and tried to locate it in a physical object. And they claim that the sun now is the center. We have to reconfigure our own astronomical way of thinking. We have to revisit the notion of the astronomy, the whole science of astronomy. Because we want to find origins. And if we begin to explore astronomy, we may realize that our genesis is not in a garden. And that our origins are beyond a garden. Because there are places and other spaces in the cosmos. So before we even go any further, I just want to make mention about one more concept. This concept now is called the universe. Now, they tell us within the context of the origins and the idea of the heaven and the earth that all of this comes together, can be described as the universe. So you ask a man or a woman or a person if they're living in a universe. They say, yeah, man, I'm living in a universe. Now, what is evident is that we all live on the planet Earth. We all share this plane. But what is the universe? What is the concept of the universe that they tell each of us that we live in it? So if you examine what the universe is, we examine the language first. Because the universe is supposed to mean everything, you know. But look at the language. And we see that there are prefixes and suffixes in English. Prefix is a little word you attach on to a root word. Suffix, you attach on to the root word at the end and you get a new meaning. So, uni is a prefix that means one. So universe could be interpreted as one verse. But verse is also just a line of poetry or a line of thought or an idea, one line. So the one idea could be equated to a universe. So the universe is an idea. But if you check it along that line, it means each individual is locked up in their own universe. And each I becomes the center of that universe. But there is a bigger space than the universe in which each I lives. There is a cosmos. And the cosmos is the everything. It goes beyond the galaxies. It goes beyond conceptual thought. It's what some people want to call the absolute. It's everything. Boundless, limitless, the infinite. So if each I conceptualize themselves as at the center of the infinite, then you would have in a position to secure some power. You're in a position to now draw power from the absolute, from the cosmos. We now speak more about now cosmic energy and cosmic vibrations. Because that spiritual level is not sufficient. Spiritual level of vibration seem to promote in a world of war and distrust. But we have to move from being spiritual to being cosmic. We need to resurrect our memory of our origins beyond and before this Garden of Eden mythology. We have to tap into our cosmic energy, the cosmic eye that is within. But we have to understand the astronomy. We have to understand the planets. We have to understand the solar system, the vastness of that, to expand our thinking. So in this Heritage and Heroes Month, we want to reclaim the origins of ourselves as black people. And that origin means we have to go beyond the religion. We have to also go beyond the science and begin to tap into black philosophy. Metamorphosis.
Anasa, Tenastilin, Dana Xavier Yimasgan, Sata Amasagana.
This is it, originally. Thou shalt not steal, said the Almighty. The King of Kings is here, rules eternally.
Honor and majesty is before him. A false witness shall not be unpunished, saith the Lord.
To eat from thine own vineyard is sweet to the soul.
But to steal from thy brethren is bitter to the belly.
Behold, how good and how pleasant it is. Dwell together in unity.
What a great day it will be when God's people shall be free.
There shall be a time of eternal day.
Please lead us to that land, Lord, that is far away.
The gates of Zion are open wide.
In thee, O Lord, we will abide. From my prayer version that bringeth forth fruit in its season.
One thing is certain, the most ancient, the most original of cultures on this planet Earth are the people who adhered to the culture of the sun. The sun people. Yeah, the original culture are people of the sun culture. People who study the movements of the sun. I was able to come up with movement with terms like birth and resurrection and ascension. The movement of the sun. So, time, the hour clock, the sun culture. So those who were worshippers of the sun are people who were deep in their melanin. So if I make the connection now between the green plants, the sun, and the black people. Yeah, the trinity in nature.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let StylzFM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-priced promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. StylzFM for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
It's Wow Factor Tuesdays with Chungy and Shelly. Every Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's entertainment and interaction at its best. With features like the Share to Care segment, the Uprising 10 Countdown, and the ever-controversial Love Break. Yes, it's the Wow Factor. Your Tuesday mornings will never be the same again.
Guess what? StylzFM has a new business number for you to call, text, and now WhatsApp. 518-2399. To advertise your business and events, call, text, or WhatsApp us on
518-2399. 518-2399.
Don't forget, 518-2399.
Remember StylzFM on social media. View us on YouTube, StylzFM Radio. Follow us on Instagram at StylzFM. Like us on Twitter at StylzFM961. Become a fan on Facebook, StylzFM 96.1.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill, they offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
Liberation of our own enslaved thoughts. We have thoughts that are enslaved and under guard and lock and key. And if any of them ever get out, they are chased by the mental police. Yeah, it's a prison system, you know. It's a prison of thought. And it's controlled by men, primarily preachers. They become the guardians of this mental prison. And in that prison, your thoughts are channeled in a particular direction, and your money is also channeled in a particular direction. Because it's all about energy. How do you control energy? How do you secure energy? Everything is driven by energy. The ancients recognize that, and the sun is the ultimate source of energy. The sun has no end when it comes to providing energy. So that's why it is so omnipotent and almighty. Energyless. Not energyless. Okay, I'm find a word for it. So when you recognize that power and you tap into that power, not just the physical but the psycho-spiritual, you begin to get a better knowledge of yourself. And how do you relate now to this mighty power called the SUN? And how do you relate to Earth? How do you relate to the plants and the animals? How do you relate to each other? How do you relate to your own self? So the people now who are captured by the Arabs and bamboozled by Islam, and then captured by the Europeans and bamboozled by Christianity, have been completely befuddled by these two great religions, Islam and Christianity. They have controlled maybe 95% of the thinking of black people globally. They are at the foundation of most of the wars in Africa, set as a religious confrontation over the resources. So we're coming to the plantation society now, broken and remodeled and given a brand new name, two alien names, one that belongs to the religion, so they give you a Christ name, which means you're branded, and then they give you a name of the owner of the plantation. So you have a Christian name, and you have a Sir name, the name of the Sir. But that's not enough. They now must give you some ideas in your brain to work with and walk around with for the rest of your life. And you never question these ideas again because you get big and you get educated now. And so you don't question that level of authority. But here we are now as big people, and we realize things are going back ways, literally, for the black population and the black race. And we see advancement amongst the Orientals and the Indians. And we see the white man in his perpetual struggle, but always trying to go forward. So we have to revisit the ideas that are holding us in one spot, no matter how much money we get and how much education we get. So I return to the notion now of origin, where we really come from, that we can really get the strength to go forward. So they give us a language again. And again, every time you ask a man about the earth and the solar system and the planets, they tell you about what the Bible says. And Genesis become now this book of science. Genesis is going to explain physiology and psychology and biology. It's going to explain procreation. They're going to explain everything now. So this is a book that gives us to learn to read and to learn to internalize ideas. So we hear about the God that is singular, that has created the heavens and the earth. So the heavens, I would suggest now, is plenty places. The heavens and this single earth. Now, we are also informed subtly that everything that was made is called the universe. And all of us live in this one universe. We have also told that the universe have powers, that there are laws now that govern this universe that we live in. Now, when we go to public school and high school, they introduce us to scientific laws that govern and operate in the universe. Physics, laws of physics and laws in chemistry. But before we got to that level, they told us about laws that work in the world of what they call spirit. Now, I, as a grown man now, I don't know how these laws, who discern these laws, who define how these laws work, who write about them, who talk about them. But them say there are laws there. And one of the laws them is that there are two forces that govern the universe that them say we live in. One force is called good, and one force is called evil. So all of us now getting this teaching that we lock up in a universe that is governed by good and evil. And you ask nearly any individual walking about the place, them tell you, say, yes, good and evil did it. And it's a perpetual fight. And not only that, good will overcome. And one day, good shall overcome evil, and blah, blah, blah. And for 2,000 years, we have been singing that song. That one day, good will overcome evil. Well, I am telling you them now that after 2,000 years of this singing, it is obvious to I that good will never overcome evil, because good have to have power. So it's not the good that will overcome the evil, it is the powerful that will eventually overcome evil if the powerful choose to be good. So guess what? The most important thing then is to have power. Marcus Garvey said it in his own ways. To have power in every way imaginable. So this is what is now, I realize, that we as a people, we lack that power that is driven by will, because we technically surrender will to this force in this universe that is supposed to be good. So we end up being robots in a construction called a universe. And if there is a universe, English tells you that there can also be a multiverse. There can be a pluriverse, which means several verses. And so we move from a single concept of a world to a multiplicity of worlds. So we have to move away from the idea of just universe and we then talk about the cosmos. So each individual not only is at the center of their own universe, they're also at the center of the cosmos. So you're highly powered, you know, you're highly charged. You're tapped into the Almighty Sun. So we just need to revisit the nature of our being and the whole concept of origins. And we have to delve more into science, because the religious explanations of things scientific only benefit those who are in control, those who organize the text. So if you hold on to the idea of the sun being able to stand still, because a man can do that, then you're holding on to the idea of this divinity that is more powerful than the forces of the cosmos, that is outside the cosmos, which now takes us outside of reality. So when we begin to question these notions now, we have to draw on philosophy to question, can there be a creator of time that is existing before time has been created? You know, so when we begin to question these questions, we move to the dimensions of recognizing that there is infinity. And infinity is a level of energy that exhibits the qualities of no beginning and no end. And so is a dimension of time. These are forces that cannot be qualified within beginning and ending, because they always exist. And I'm saying I, as energy, has always existed. No beginning, no end. What a thing. The liberation we're talking about is psychic, moving beyond the spiritual confusion and get into the psychic of the mind, the psychic of the brain, the psychic of the African, the psychic of the black man. So it comes with unlearning some of that Sunday school rubbish that we absorb so easily when our brains were like sponge. So I'm saying now they put us into this conceptual universe that we are locked into. And in charge of that universe now is a good force. But the good force is always battling with the bad force. And the good force can't overcome the bad force because they are like twins. two sides of the same coin. They need each other. So you have internalized a battle which there is no winner. And at the same time, when you step aside from that battle, you realize that these forces that they construct in this universe creates a binary in your thinking of either or either. Yet reality shows that it can be neither. Yeah, there is a possibility of neither. It is neither good nor evil. The universe that they tell us supposed to have a morality to it. We're supposed to live in what is called a moral universe. Now, how did we arrive at that conclusion? I really don't know. Because the universe doesn't have to have any feelings towards beings because we feel. The universe is amoral. So these feelings that are human and animal expressions, we are just simply projecting them to everything else. So we've also been told that the universe is good. And within the universe, there's a place for all good people to go. And we're locked up into this construction. And each individual now is actually in his own world. So we have to kind of break down that barrier that we create through this idea of origin coming out of a garden. And, you know, the future is in the land, the future is in the earth. And ultimately, when you die, and you're going to save this most important part of yourself now, which is your soul. No, we don't know what that is either. We have to examine what is this soul thing that black people have been told to spend more time trying to save than our physical being. Where we surrender and brutalize, accept punishment in the physical because we are told that that part of our being is not the most important. Them tell us that the most important part is a part called the soul. And that is a very deceptive argument now. Because what is the soul? That you like to ask you, what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? What is the soul? And look how long we have been suffering. And we have not been gaining anything by saving our soul. We want to save some money now. We want to save some resources. So, if we really want to talk about heritage, I want to talk about culture, we have to spend more time exploring origins. And origins go beyond just what the historians say. We have to also go into what the scientific community has to say about the history of the planet Earth. The anciency of the earth gives us a clue to the anciency of the cultures. And within all of those agencies, the sun culture is the foundation of all cultures on this planet. The sun is the source of all life on this planet. So when a set of people give us a religion that tells us that hell is fiery hot, it cannot be a disturbance to the sun people. We have been living with the sun from time immemorial. So it's an alien group now who find the sun to be inhospitable. They can't manage the sun, so now they have defined that sun as their hell. For the African, hell is never where it's hot. Hell is where it's very, very cold. And all the men who live in cold countries know exactly what I am talking about. When the temperature drop and cold breeze blow, it will cut you. It will cut you and it will burn you more than the fire in the flame burn you. So cold breeze can burn you hotter than fire. I am saying that is hell for the black man. So is it the European who has reversed everything? I was fear a hell that is full of fire while we are living in the hell on the earth in 0 degrees. And him now, who have hell as his home, is searching to capture places that are in our heaven. He is trying to capture land places that have the sunlight, that him can get some of the warmth of the Creator. Yeah, the Creator that we're praying for is the sun. The sun is the Creator. And if you want to worship a creator of that creator, then so be it. But recognize that the creator of the sun has no name. We're talking about forces, multiplicity of forces that created the sun. And the sun that we see is one of many billions. And we see the suns in their glory when night comes. We simply look out And every star is a sun. So the sun people know, we have to claim that out of our identity. And the sun people culture was very, very deep and established in the Nile Valley. So a reference point to connect to the sun culture, Nile Valley culture, the Mayans, the Aztecs, black civilizations, metamorphosis.
Eternity is a temptation of time. To dance is to be master of time. His pleasure is to control mind. Universal remedy, cure for you and cure for me. Universal remedy, cure for you and cure for me. Dr. Street.
The universe
is the one you get to meet.
has no moral sense. The universe is unconcerned with the rightness or wrongness of something. The universe has no concern about morality. The sun shines on all people. The rain falls on all people. The universe is amoral. It is man that must build up his consciousness and his morality towards a levity that is constructive and hopeful. And we never ignore the environment. A state, it's an extension of the inner mind. It's the environmental, the mentals of the environs. All is connected. Metamorphosis.
It's the one you get to me. Whoa. Time is settled down by ruins. Rusty rat and river drought. His world is full of fetish forest. Dusty museum of life. Shadows of jawbone sticking to a lazy silver spoon. Hazy brown eyes echo, echoing with laughter words. Ginger girl, there is a rocky, rugged road to go out. Come on, my ginger girl, there is a rocky, rugged road to go. Beside your journey from the plains of the no man to the promised land. Beside your journey from the plains of the no man to the promised land. With vigilance, with love, with life. With vigilance, with love, with life. Dr. Street is the one you get to meet. Whoa. Dr. Street is the one you get to meet. Whoa. Dr. Street is the one you get to meet. Whoa. Dr. Street is the one you get to meet. Oh yeah, yeah. Dr. Street is the one you get to meet. Dr. Street is the one you get to meet. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes, so we're going to just wrap up this segment here now as we speak about origins of I and origins way beyond just calling ourselves Africans. Because we say Europeans who are born in Africa now with true nationality and those documentations, they call themselves Africans too. So, you know, that ain't saying much, you know. So we have to find our origins that when we claim our identity, them have to just stamp and watch. You see it? So, again, when we talk about the sun and the earth and its relationship, we're not taught these things in Sunday school, you know. This to me is what would have helped to open our consciousness if we were exploring these ideas from before we got to basic school and during basic school. And so we're not into a diddle diddle on the cat and the fiddle, because We don't know, so no how we can go over the moon. All them things that we don't know from a long time is foolishness, so we wouldn't have to recite it and memorize it. And after 40 years now, we have to find a way to reject it. There's much more other rubbish going to our computers through nursery rhymes and Bible stories and cliches and those little glitches in English that trap the imagination and prevent the eye them from thinking. So the earth and the sun are in tandem, and connected to that pair is man. Black man, melanin man, pigment man, chlorophyll in the green plants, melanin in the black man, both of them operating through photosynthesis and generating energy, keeping a cycle going. So we see those forces now, but the real issue that become problematic in understanding now is that science can, from a point of forces galvanizing themselves in the cosmos, because we see stars being born right around us, and we see when stars are dying. So we know stars go through a process of birth and death, just like all other things. So don't think so because the star is so big, it's going to be there forever. A plant grows, it goes through a cycle, so does a star. So the star will burn out, a star will die. But we'll have to also try to figure out in our own thinking about our own selves now. We, man, I, who speaking, how I and I originate now on this plane. Because science can speak of the cosmic forces forcing rock and gases and all of these things to come together and create orbits and all of these things and thing. But when you get to the planet Earth now and life as we know it, one of the most foundation to the blocks that make up life are cells. Because almost all living things are made up of cells. So again, is science of a relate to know? We can go to religion to find the origins of life on the earth in its practical format. We have to talk about this, the composition of these forms. So the plant life appears to be earlier in its existence than even animals, because one is dependent on the other. It is animals who depend upon the plants. So within a sequence of thought now, philosophy will show us well, within sequence, the plants would have to be on the planet's surface before any animals could occupy it. Because animals need food, etc., the atmosphere is needed. So within the sequencing, we see that seeds become an important thing. And you have asked a question, how did the first seed get spread? In anything. And we know that it's really the ocean, which really was a starting point for life on the planet. So how did the ocean get seeded? How did the fish, them, get into the ocean? So because we don't have any explanation in any direct ways, man develops its myths. And so the myth now tries to explain these things in a way that the science doesn't have the specifics. So there is a dual school of thought now, the scientific thought and the religious thought about the earth and its evolution. But it comes to a bam. When we finish 5 or 6 days in the process, or 5 or 6 periods or eras, that how now do we explain the emergence of what we call ourselves, people? So the query is always about who was the first man? How did the first man come on the planet? Now, that question now is perhaps not the right question to ask, because when you pause a little bit and begin to try to think, you go to religion, you have to go to the book of Genesis, because a mythology is written in that. It doesn't mean there are other myths not written in there, because you go to Egyptian mythology, you can go to Chinese, you can go to Inuit mythology, but the foundations one that we get out of Christianity is the biblical notion that on the 6th day of the creation, according to the Bible, God said, let us make man. And I want the one of them to just look at these lines, bit more carefully now as we examine language, talking about singular and plural, masculine and gender, masculine and feminine. So the line said, and God said, let us. Now, if you stop right there and revisit the line, it would appear as though a S drop off of the word God. Because the following statement said, let us. So we know that us is plural. So there must be an agreement in the language between the subject and the verb. So let us make man. And if God is speaking in the us term, then God is no longer singular. So it is whether we're going to use our intelligence and make an adjustment in the reading, or we're going to continue to read and misread because the English law doesn't allow that to make sense. So what it should really say is that, just like in the first line, it should say, and the gods created heaven and the earth. In Genesis 1:26, it should say, and the gods said, let us make man in our image. Again, our is plural. Us is plural, so God must be plural. And this is where we get knocked off our consciousness through religious education and European way of thinking. Because previous to this construction, the African notion of God was not singular. And the African notion of God was not masculine. So the Bible explanation of how man comes into being through mythology uses a singular God that is masculine. The ancient black cultures, in describing any form of creation, always have to include the feminine principle. It's always a male and a female principle. Not only in the kingdom of man, in the plant kingdom, in the animal kingdom. So to embrace a singular God coming through a creation of plurality and male and female is a disservice to your own thinking. Yeah, it's a lick to your own mentality. It's a blow to your consciousness. And only the eye can correct that. We're talking about the language that they give us to read. And there are laws that allow you to understand what the language means. So if we're going to go to religion to explain origins, then we're going to end up speaking about a creation myth that was manifested by gods. A multiplicity of forces manifested as fire, air, and water, and mental consciousness. If you go to science, science now being European ways, because the Europeans have controlled science and have told us now that this being that is called man, his explanation of man is through the animals, evolution, through the primates. And the European insists that he is a descendant of the primates and that his genesis is grounded in a sort of animal culture, reinforced by Sigmund Freud and Charles Darwin. So, when the European man loves raw meat and have an appetite for blood, the cultured black man has an appetite for greens and vegetable and natural foods. Its orientation, its origins, it's everything. It's a difference. I must reclaim the difference by reconstructing the knowledge of our origin. And we did not originate in a garden. And we did not come from dirt. We could lift up our consciousness and see the anciences of anciences. We are galactical people. We know about the cosmos. We know about other planetary systems. We know about other constellations. Yeah, we are galactic, not terrestrial. So just recovery to hidden memories. Metamorphosis. Yes, Metamorphosis continuing into Alkebulan, our story, what they didn't tell us in high school, what they didn't tell us in church, what they didn't tell us at home. What is it about our own story that we need to know? Because much of our story, meaning our experiences, have been documented by him. And when he write it as his story. And we go to their schools and we study his story and we accept that that is reality. It is reality, but reality has perspectives to it. And it's vital that we understand the importance of perspectives when we talk about reality. Because the lion who is being hunted has a different perspective than the hunter. The hunter is hunting with the perspective that he's going to become a hero and he's going to capture and put a head of a lion in his house. The lion is fleeing in desperate ways, and the perspective is that he's being pressured by the oppressor who is trying to remove him away from finding food for his family. So perspectives are important, and as black people, we have to learn to view things from a black perspective first. First, it don't mean that's the only perspective you hold, but you must begin to view it from that Afrocentric black perspective first. And then you can look at other perspectives. But you have to say first and foremost, how the thing benefit you? How does this thing benefit I as a black man or a black woman? And if there's no benefit to I and I as a black man or a black woman, we have to allow it. Or make decisions as to what is more relevant. So, as we go through the heritage and the heroes, I mentioned in the previous program about a writer named J.A. Rogers, a Jamaican, who has written, I think, some of the most powerful books. And you know, Rogers is not even mentioned at the University of the West Indies. You know that? When you don't know that, J.A. Rogers. I spent years there as a student and a lecturer. I've never come across any works from J.A. Rogers. And J.A. Rogers is a Jamaican, Great historian, make his mark in the United States. And his greatest books are not even available too much in Jamaica. And one of the books that helped me to get behind the awe of the personality of Jesus as a hero was his celebrated text called The World's Great Men of Color, Volumes 1 and 2, by Joel A. Rogers. And it is in that book I began to realize that I was exposed in that book to what you call celebrities and the personalities of the world before the Christian era. In other words, before Jesus came onto the landscape and became the star, who were the personalities and heroes of the world in culture and science and literature? And it is J.A. Rogers' book, World's Great Men of Color, that really, really highlights these things. And he speaks of Akhenaten. He speaks to Imhotep, Hatshepsut, and Zinga. He speaks to people who we are not aware of as heroes in the world before the Europeans became the dominant culture. So I will always recommend and suggest that you search out J.A. Rogers. He has another important book called From Superman to Man. His journeys on a railroad in the United States, being quizzed by a white man who was in the government, and his responses along the journey transformed that white man out of his barbaric ideas. And he has another book called Sex and Race, which are two of the elementary foundation aspects of identity. Sex and race. And what the Europeans have manipulated to confuse black man and black woman. That would think that it is a white woman now who is the epitome of sex, when enough things don't go so. But that's another issue. Now, so if we want to upgrade our knowledge on our own heritage, we must know ourselves before the Christian era. We must know about Aesop. We must begin to read Aesop fables to our children at night. Don't bother reading the Bible story to frighten them. Read them something that they have a philosophical thought, a moral that they will meditate on while they rest and wake up with a perspective. So if we were informing our children with the fables of Aesop from the time they were 3-4 years old, we'd have more intelligent and a much more conscious society. But you tell a youth early, say, a diddle diddle. And you tell a youth, say, lick Miss Muffet, sat on a tuffet. And you befuddle the young mind with nonsense syllables and nonsense jingles. That they come in like, we can't have no space now for serious conscious thought. So I'm saying again, J.A. Rogers. is the man. And the other person I want to speak of now is an African writer. His name is Chinua Achebe. Chinua Achebe. Now, I have had one occasion to get close to this gentleman. He was invited to the University of the West Indies. And he came and some presentation took place. And he's a Nigerian, best known for his novels and his children's books, poems. But one of his most world-known and recognized books, by the way, he was born in 1930 in Nigeria. And he attended University College, and he's a graduate of College of Ibadan. Now, he passed away in 2013, just a few years ago. He was not only a novelist and a poet, but he was also a professor. Now, his very first book, his first novel, was in 1958. And it was titled Things Fall Apart. And this book is considered the most widely read book in modern African literature. If you have any desire to get close to the literature of Africa, I recommend strongly that you search wherever you have to search within the realm of cyberspace and find Chinua Achebe, Chinua Achebe, Nigerian professor, poet, philosopher, writer, and his book is called Things Fall Apart. The first time I read this book, I was living in the United States, and it was the clearest vision I've ever gotten of how Christian religion disarm and dismember African traditions, African philosophy, African psychology. And the title of the book is Things Fall Apart. And I tell you, I have a little clipping I don't want to play for you. It's a poem being read by a Nigerian, but is making reference to the book, Things Fall Apart. And he's summarizing what is really perhaps the essence of what the book is all about. So I also want you to listen to this clipping.
It's already too late, said Oberika sadly. Our own men and our sons have joined the ranks of the stranger. They have joined his religion, and they help to uphold his government. If we should try to drive out the white men in Umuofia, we should find it easy. There are only 2 of them. But what of our own people who are following their way and have been given power? They would go to Umuru and bring the soldiers, and we would be like Abame. He paused for a long time and then said, I told you on my last visit to Mbanta how they hanged Aneto. What has happened to that piece of land in dispute? Asked Okonkwo. The white man's court has decided that it should belong to Nama's family, who had given much money to the white man's messengers and interpreter. Does the white man understand our custom about land? How can he, when he does not even speak our tongue? But he says that our customs are bad, and our own brothers who have taken up his religion also say that our customs are bad. How do you think we can fight when our own brothers have turned against us? The white man is very clever. He came peaceably and quietly with his religion. We were amused at his foolishness and allowed him to stay. Now he has won our brothers, and our clan can no longer act like one. He has put a knife on the things that held us together, and we have fallen apart.
Alongside mystical revealers. Yeah. Now blizzard is man that walking on the coast of and God and after the sea the sky fall. Now stand the ways of sinners.
Oh, religion.
Why is the light and laugh the land? And the laugh the land that they meditate day and night. I do remember that God they are not so. How man like soldier alongside Billy Mystic say.
Yeah.
Step up Billy Mystic.
Said I'm a religion. If you don't know all the things that I know, Babylon taking my division. I know, and the Bible says so. You can't come tell I'm a religion. If you don't know all the things that I know, Babylon taking my division. I know.
Now, I know some of you who are listening probably didn't get enough of a chance to digest what the clip was about. In essence, it is a summary of the effect of what religion has done and did and continues to do amongst African people, in this case in Nigeria. So we run it again. This is Chinua Achebe coming from his book, How Things Fall Apart. And record that this is an experience being documented, showing us about the cunningness and the slyness of the white man and how he has used his religion to let things fall apart.
It's already too late, said Oberika sadly. Our own men and our sons have joined the ranks of the stranger. They have joined his religion and they help to uphold his government. If we should try to drive out the white men in Umuofia, we should find it easy. There are only 2 of them. But what of our own people who are following their way and have been given power? They would go to Umuru and bring the soldiers, and we would be like Abame. He paused for a long time and then said, I told you on my last visit to Mbanta how they hanged Aneto. What has happened to that piece of land in dispute? Asked Okonkwo. The white man's court has decided that it should belong to Nama's family, who had given much money to the white man's messengers and interpreter. Does the white man understand our custom about land? How can he, when he does not even speak our tongue? But he says that our customs are bad, and our own brothers who have taken up his religion also say that our customs are bad. How do you think we can fight when our own brothers have turned against us? The white man is very clever. He came peaceably and quietly with his religion. We were amused at his foolishness and allowed him to stay. Now he has won our brothers, and our clan can no longer act like one. He has put a knife on the things that held us together, and we...
Alongside mystical revealers. Yeah. Now blizzard is man that walking on the coast of and God and after the sea the sky fall. Now stand the ways of sinners.
Oh, religion.
Why is the light and laugh the land? And the laugh the land that they meditate day and night. I do remember that God they are not so.
Now we know why things and how things are falling apart. It's through religion. Yeah, religion. European, white man, Christian, and Arab religion.
You can't come tell our religion if you don't know all the things that I know. Babylon taking my division. I know. See, it was you. Just like scribes and the Pharisees, you never knew. No. When Christ come, that's the way he would be. Couldn't take natty Jedi riding in a Palm Sunday. You couldn't take a natty Jedi riding in a Palm Sunday. And man, you want to come tell our religion, and you don't know all the things that I know. Babylon taking a division. So listen, Stoji, I'll make him tell you when no.
Yeah, Billy Mystic revealers is this division of religion that is even have Jamaica in such a upstart. The politics that divide Jamaica is just along two lines, you know, the two tribes, orange or green, just two tribes. But the religious break up and the splitting up of the country into these denominations is really what has divided the country in small pieces, little fiefdoms. That the clergy and the cloth now has become corrupted. That the deacon and have a gun in a back pocket. So the religion that was brought onto black people in this Western world is something that has been like a cross on our back. It's like we take up this cross where we read about in the Jesus story and carrying this cross. You know, not realizing that the Jesus story is an allegory. It's nothing to do with a reality. It's an allegory. And the characters that we read about in that book are not really. They're fictitious characters, fiction, in the same way we read about Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent. Now, the division through religion is reinforced now. We will talk about how they give us the concept of this universe that we live in. Because now them try to give it that is not only spiritual, it's not a spiritual universe, it is governed by religious vibrations, you know, because everything that is supposed to be divine in this universe of two forces, everything is connected. So, man know, African people know who have been enslaved in this universe, in this Western concept. Them tell us that in the universe now, beside these two forces, because they rule out indifference, you know. They don't give respect to anything that is open the mind beyond the binary. They don't realize that we understand the power of the Trinity, the trinary way of viewing things, either or neither. And neither is an important power, because just like the neutron in the election, it helps the whole thing together. But it's a neutron, it's neutral. So don't ignore neutral, you know, because of forward and second and backwards. Neutral is a powerful gear. And oftentimes you have to go into neutral before you make a decision whether you're going to go forward or backward. So we have to learn to think in a Trinitarian way and come out of the binary. Because in the binary now we have good and evil. And there's no room for indifference. And the good and evil now manifests itself through the man. But them tell us now, say, it can't just go through by itself now, because man is a mediator now to these forces. And inside of man now, him have a thing called him will. We learn these things now again, you know, not through science. We don't learn about willpower and mind power through science. We learn about these things now through Bible and religion. So, you hear about will, power, and they tell you stories that have to do with contestations and the use of force, and whose force will overcome. And to overcome at the human level without military physical force, you have to have willpower. Now, my thoughts just drift to Cain and Abel, you know. That story tells us about murder and the killing of an individual. Now, I was wondering, I wonder who buried Cain, you know, who buried Abel. When Cain killed Abel, who buried him? That don't really matter. He was eaten by the vultures. Is that mythology? It's mythology. So part of the myth now is informing us that we have willpower to make decisions. But at the same time, we are told that the Creator God knows all things before it happens. And that everybody's destiny is already defined before we're born. Because the all-seeing, almighty God of creation in the Bible sees all and knows all. So this idea now of the man having a will that is free, it is a contradiction. Because if the will is free, it means that your destiny cannot be set already. In other words, now, if you accept that destiny is a factor and a creation of the God of creation, then you are a being without willpower. In other words, your will has already been subdued, and you must simply follow instructions. Because if you have a free will, you have the will to do anything, so there should be no action that is called a sin. There should be no action called a sin if your will is free, because your choice is free. Why punish me for using my free will? So there's a conflict and a contradiction in the whole will concept. Because the truth is, the will exists as a force in nature. Animals demonstrate willpower. The plants demonstrate the will. The roots of a plant demonstrate the will to break through concrete. Chemical forces. So if we accept that will is a manifestation of the religious world, then how do we activate the will that is grounded in our physiological makeup? How do we activate the will that is generated by our mind power? So we have to be careful now how we find the origins of ourselves, aspects of ourselves. It's the same way when we ask a black man or a black woman about them soul, they make reference again to the Bible. They don't make reference to ancient texts that speak about the soul and the various aspects of the being of the African. They go to European concepts. So you read the Bible that breath was put into man and that became the soul of man. The ancient Egyptians have a concept that the soul of man has several aspects to it. There are almost 7 different areas to the soul of man. The ib and the ik and the shu, various areas, the shadow. We are a much more complex being than what is projected through religion and through European science. But we have to search out our own origins, psychologically, biologically, cosmologically. We have to know our own origins. When we begin to make that journey, we will begin to lead the pages orchestrated by King James and his brethren. We begin to look into the pages of the texts of our ancient writers. We begin to read the Book of the Awakening. We begin to read the writings of Dr. Ben Yochanan, Black Man of the Nile. We begin to read the writings of Ivan van Sertima. They came before Columbus. And we begin to combine the science and the practicality of our knowledge to free ourselves from the religious ideas that are not grounded in reality. Metamorphosis.
For a full range of modern eye care services, visit Ophthalmic Suites. We offer the latest laser technology in glaucoma care, LASIK vision correction, retinal and cataract surgery using premium implant technology, and so much more. From A to Z in eye health and vision care. Visit us at 34 Lady Musgrave Road. Telephone 630-0958 or 759-6449. Ophthalmic Suites, Jamaica's eye care technology center.
Also located at 14 Miramar Drive, Morant Bay, St. Thomas, 1 Bramonti Avenue, May Pen, 43 Fletchers Avenue, Linstead, and 65 Main Street, St. Anne's Bay.
This feeling is taking over me. I'm so excited.
Feel the euphoria.
Tuesdays from 5 to 9 p.m. with the Master Mixer Musical Maestro Digital Team.
Giving a total satisfaction with melodies and memories by the score. With the widest selection of genres and hits. So you don't know that program you turn up, you know. So you know Patek's a full dance, the one you slap with.
Digital and we are party. Yeah, we flawless. Euphoria the program. Every Tuesday.
5 to 9. Every Tuesday.
With the Musical Maestro Digital Team.
Planning a party? club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let StylzFM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-priced promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. StylzFM for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Ditchfield Hill. They offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
I want to just make a little insert here as I think. You know, say, will, power. You say Hitler had tremendous amount of willpower. And that there are actually exercises and drills that one can do to develop your willpower. We need to know, is there a part of the brain that is responsible for exercising will? Because within the construction of the psychology of I and I, we not only have a power to generate will, we have a power to generate what we call our desires. But the European now, I just realizing those thinking that is that them one called Satan. You know, it's a Satan strong. You know, it's like them separated from ourselves. So our desires and our will are literally at odds with each other. And when the desires rise up, which are really powerful aspects of ourselves, connected to our emotions, and when the will can navigate and reason with the desire, and desire becomes victorious, the Christians say, boy, Satan wins, Satan's strong. They actually ignoring that is a part of themselves that has the desire, you know, is them own being, you know. But they have disowned their own being, which is the emotional aspects that come from their desires. So, in other words, now, if you hold on to that Christian version of the will, it means that the Christian story of the Jesus being sabotaged by the Judas, all of that was foretold. So that means Judas was already destined to do him do. So he couldn't get to it. It means that Hitler couldn't help but kill all those people because all of these things within the Christian context is the will of God. You see it? So what and how does the will of man manifest itself? Because before we buck up and met this will concept, black man did have his own will. And we had our own desires, and we could combine those and build great societies and cultures and technology and sciences. But all of a sudden now the will and the desire get split up, and the will is put under control of a God force now. And not only under control, we are told to, in the Lord's Prayer, that the Father above, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. So it's not the will of black man being done on earth. It's the will of this conceptual Father in heaven. And his father is a male Caucasian in imagery, whose teachings suggest that the son came from that lineage. And so black people in general have an internal reverence for white people, because the image of the Savior is embedded in their minds as a Caucasian. So we have to unshackle. We have to unshackle our own consciousness. We have to free the will from that idea of being governed by this good and evil, and begin to take control of the will through the powers of the I, so that you can begin to say, I will. The first statement of existence, is I am. And once you can begin to exert the I am, you must be able to move to the next stage where you can say, I will. Where you can say, I must. And where you can say, I can. Because ultimately, it's action you want. You need action. And you have to move from the I am stage to the action stage, which is I can and I will. But you have to activate the will. So if you surrender your will to some father in the sky, you are a robot. And if you look across the whole landscape of black people, you get the image that we are almost a race of robots, following either behind Muhammad or following behind Jesus. All of them bowing down to this male concept of a male God without a female principle as a tandem. Everything out of whack. So we have to address our own situation. We can't be looking out now at the white man and looking at the China man and the Indian man. We have to be looking internally and reconstruct ourselves. We have to get the I, we have to get the will, we have to get the desires, we have to get the imagination, all on one track, with a perspective that is black and Afrocentric. Metamorphosis.
Sitting in your church on Sunday, thinking who you're gonna screw Monday, who you're gonna thief, who you're gonna rob. Take it as me till you say you can't fool God too. Every day you ball out, Jaja. Call yourself a dreadlocks Rasta. Terrorize the people on your lane, cause I saw you get wicked when you lick the code. By his deeds shall a man be known. And I ask you for a piece of bread, you give him stone. By his deeds shall a man be known. Not tear up your head and worship Babylon throne. By his deeds shall a man be known. Straighten up your liberty and don't bow down. By his deeds shall a man be known. Mr. Money Man with your big money plan. Tell me where you get your first money from. How you plant your field, how you make your deal. Then come tell your picnic them feel don't smoke weed. Left your air condition office and gone a bar. Impress a little easy girl with your pretty car. When you're done, she said she have to get paid. What a fret you a go fret when you hear she have. By his deeds shall a man be known. Man, I ask you for a piece of bread, you give him stone. By his deeds shall a man be known. Not tear up your head and worship Babylon throne. By his deeds shall a man be known. Straighten up your liberty and don't bow down. By his deeds shall a man be known. end, it will be over. Over. Lift up your head and hold it up high.
Yeah, metamorphosis going on. We're coming out of our segment where we deal with the mythologies and the allegories and the rhymes and so on. But I just want to leave the concept of free will up for greater discussion, because it's such as that if there's a free will, there can also be an enslaved will. And how many of you are currently living with an enslaved will? How many know whether your will is enslaved or whether your will is free? And the whole idea about choice, because the impression is that you can make your own choice because you have a free will. But we have to be careful about that type of setup, you know. Because if the choice is two things, and I say you have the free will, you only have the free will to choose between two things. But there could be 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, 9 things to choose from. But no, you have limited my choice and tell me now that I am now free. So I have to be careful now people talk about free and choice. Because if you put down 2 objects and I choose one, and you say I choose it out of my own free will, then it cannot be the wrong choice. It cannot be the wrong choice, which otherwise the choice that would have been the right choice would have been established long before. And you got to know and make the wrong choice, even though you use your free will. So now why should I be penalized for using my free will? Because my choice didn't suit you. So if we watch the concept of the free will, and who establishes this notion of free will, because it suggests also that there's a condition where the will can be enslaved. And what does that look like when you have an enslaved will? It means you cannot think for thyself. You cannot exercise the power of action. You can carry out instructions, but you're unable to exercise actions out of your own self. So we have to find a way to encourage people to develop them willpower. And the willpower doesn't work by itself, because you have to have it in tandem with your desires. And the desires have to be reachable. It has to be attainable. So if you desire to have a house and a car and a bus, and in the practical world you're unemployed, no matter how much willpower you exercise, things will never connect in that fashion. So there must be a thought, there must be a philosophy now that you apply to achieve the goal. So free will is something that we have to examine, because if you hold the Christian version of the will, it means everything established and determined by the God, the Creator. And there's nothing you can do. If you buck it to, it's the will of God. If you fall down, it's the will of God. And in that will of God concept, we don't hear about the will of Satan. We don't hear about any evil intervening. So we are left to fear evil, but evil doesn't seem to affect us at the level, the way the God force affects us. Because when you read the literature, it is God that is responsible for all the destruction. The destruction of the earth, the destruction of the Tower of Babel, the destruction of Sodom, all the destructions that we read about and the wiping out of people, they attribute it to the will of God. That is evil, incarnate. And so African people now need to develop our own willpower. Separate from this biblical God and a willpower that will connect to our desires, that will lead us to our own upliftment, our own consciousness, our own self-preservation, our own self-governance. We have to raise the self and the I within the context of that liberation. Metamorphosis. This is a song, Baltimore by the Tamlins. When Iman came out of my sojourn in the belly of the beast of North America and came into my self-imposed exile. This song was a hit song at that time in Jamaica, early 1980 onwards, Baltimore. And I just really played that song to give me the framework to speak to something that I had to talk about on Saturday morning. My virgin Colin Anthony have a program called Smooth Sailing. And I'm encouraging everybody to listen to it now, because it's not just music and this type of competition between which artists playing now. I have a section called Talk to Me, Talk It Up. And it's a very significant aspect of the program, and I invite people to tune in on Saturday mornings to the show. It begins from 9 and it goes to 1. But this thing begins at 10 o'clock and it runs for about half an hour. And I was prodded to participate in the program on Saturday morning because the topic pulled me out. And the topic that he was really discussing is, him call it the Exodus. What was the cause of the Exodus happening in Jamaica? And he was asking, why is it people of even what we call a certain status would leave and go to America, and why is it going to build another man country? And I understand all those questions. But so I want to just deal with that now in a more fulsome way within the rest of this program, because I think it's very important that I share what I want to say. And it really, the heading will be just migration. We use the term migration now. I don't really want to say exodus yet. But migration is a phenomenon that is global. And people migrate for all various kind of reasons. The basic ones, to describe them now, we say that there are factors. Some factors push them and some factors pull them. We call those push-pull factors that determine whether people move from one place to another. But the general motivation behind that is to improve the quality of the people, them life. That is the foundation, rationale behind migration. People move to improve their economics, them social, them security conditions, them education, etc., etc. All right. So this island colony now, run by the British from 1655 until they relinquished half of the political power and gave us a semi-independent situation. So even before we attained that semi-independent political position, a lot of our native citizens, Jamaicans, Caribbean people, really gave greater homage to the British Empire and really gave homage to England and London, and spent a lot of time, singing God Save the Queen, and ultimately going to England and helping, particularly in the rebuilding of England after World War II. So that was migration and employment as factors, and people thought that their life would be better. And it did improve the quality of life of many people who went abroad, particularly to England. So we are not strange to the process of migration. But you see, exodus now and forced migration are two different things. And I'm saying now, Jamaica as a colony, we have experienced migration naturally, right up to the 70s. And in the middle of the 1970s, we underwent a serious change. Because before 1976, Jamaica had one political ideology, even though we had two political parties. That ideology was capitalism, Western democracy, etc., etc. But in 1975, in 1974, 76, the PNP brought a new game to the political arena. And the PNP declared themselves, under Michael Manley, to be democratic socialists. This is the first time now the Jamaican political landscape would experience a schism, a split. So the parties now were no longer saying the same thing. One was now saying capitalism, Western democratic ideals. The PNP were now saying socialism, Eastern European traditions, communist ideas. Now, that political divide that started in the 1975-76 also was surrounded by a whole heap of violence. And the violence was fed by the politicians who themselves brought these ammunitions and guns into the country. And we actually started a proxy war in Jamaica, a proxy war between the Union of Soviet Union, the Russians, and the Americans. And by 1978, I'm going to give it 78, 40 years ago, the first exodus began in Jamaica. Because the Prime Minister, with a bit of arrogance and some sort of naivety, in the upheaval of global politics and the struggle between socialism and capitalism, told the Jamaican public that 5 flights a day leave Jamaica to Miami. And what he was suggesting to the people is that anybody who wants to go on can go on. Now, this was very braggadocious, and it was a very serious blow to the whole culture and economics of Jamaica. So I'm saying the first exodus began in 1976-77, driven first of all by political violence. Political violence became the push factor, and people began to take with themselves from Jamaica, 76, 77, 78, and Washington as a global power got involved. The CIA got involved, and Jamaica became a battleground. In the same way, maybe Syria, at an extreme, is now a battleground between all of these forces. So the exodus intensified, and by 1980, the country was ravaged, not only by people taking away themselves, but the money going out. Billions of dollars also left in that migration. That was forced migration. And the country, up to today, 40 years later, has not recovered from that migration. But we have been experiencing what people call a brain drain. And in that brain drain, I am saying to the one them now, that Jamaican people in this time are not being motivated to stay in the country. In the 1970s, there was a policy of socialism that talk about building your own country and self-reliance and those type of ideas. All those ideas went out of the window in the 1980s. And what crept into Jamaica, from my perspective, was classism. Classism returned to Jamaica in a rush. And the socialism philosophy just evaporate. And what I saw was a re-emergence of class and money as finances became the driving force. Money became the moving force. Cash to care, all these phrases became developed in the 1980s. And so that Jamaican people now were actually being encouraged to not stay in Jamaica anymore and try to build Jamaica, but to go abroad. Go into the United States. And I think over the last 40 years, the 2 governments have created a policy that now encourages all local people to leave the country. And in that loss, over 40 years, so much intelligence, so much resource now dwells abroad. So the drain of the country is now telling 40 years later that when my brethren talk about an exodus now, what we find now in 2018 is that the agenda now by most youths is how to get out. Because the 40 years that I have been here have shown me, as a man who come home with the concept of building Jamaica, that the governance and those who rule Jamaica are not interested in people building Jamaica. They're more interested in the people going away, getting trained, and sending the remittance money into the country. I am saying they don't want the intelligentsia and the experience of overseas to be here in too many numbers. So it is perpetuated now by majority of the population are unable to access land. Because, as one caller said, if he had a piece of land, he wouldn't really take for himself. And it's really because I man had a home, why I man could have come home and live in a home. A lot of Jamaicans leave here without a home, and so there's no home to return to. So wherever they are now, they have to make home there. And in making home there, from the moment you start having children, you know, it's hard to pick up and move again. So we find that there is an exodus. There is a brain drain. But it's not by accident. In the same way Portland experiences a brain drain, it is not by accident. Because the environment sets a ceiling that in no time you lick it with your head and you have to go somewhere else. So you want to go to Kingston. And if you stay in Kingston long enough, your head hit the ceiling and you know you have to go to foreign. So the question came up, what are the benefits of living abroad when we know, say, it's not pretty? People tell you that living abroad is no bed of roses. But here's the difference. You see, when you work for 8 hours, for X amount of dollars per hour, when you finish and them take out the tax, that is what you get. And you're able, at a certain level now, to get training in almost any discipline you want in the United States, part-time or full-time. So while you are hustling to earn a dollar, you can also be hustling to upgrade yourself at an intellectual level. You can become a professional at anything in those places. But guess what? The agony of the weather and the white man racism makes life there brutal. But I know, can give you the testimony, that the classism and the tribalism that one experienced in Jamaica, may I tell you, say it's more brutal than the racism of the island face amongst the white man. Because the white man racism is just him being his natural self. And you can manage that because you don't have to be his friend. And you don't have to like him because him don't like you and him tell you. In Jamaica Rock, classism, brethren, and tribalism, and denominationalism, and the amount of isms in Jamaica, it make enough man want to take for themselves. And those who govern at the political level, they don't mind. They don't mind if the agenda of the population is to leave. Because as long as they get enough people to vote for them over the next party, they will be here controlling the resources. I was in Rocky Park, Harborview, first night, reasoning with my brethren, and them start telling me about the politics of scarce resources. And all the people have to jump on one side because the resources are scarce. And I had to ask him, why in Jamaica must the resources be always scarce? Why we cannot get to a point where the resources are enough? Why are the people conditioned to accept a condition of scarce resources while those who govern are governing in abundance? So it's a controlled situation. They are controlling the resources and making it scarce to the people. So all of that have to change up. The people have to awaken themselves and realize that there is no scarce resources. There's enough, there's abundance for everybody to have, and it begins with the land. So when one man have 10,000 acres, and you live in a tenement yard, that is enough to riot and revolt against. Every citizen in Jamaica should get a quarter-acre of land, and then you will see commitment to the country. But as far as I see now, this country is governed by political groups and interest groups, and each individual is left on their own. The leaders all have green cards. When I man come in, I man turn in my green card. All leaders in the country should turn in them green card. All politicians should never have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. They should surrender the alien card. Give up that alien title and become full citizens of Jamaica that you can become governance. Yeah, that's what I say. So I don't tell nobody say they must stay at Jamaica anymore. I used to do that in my early years at Titchfield. Tell people don't leave, stay and build Jamaica. Now I tell them, say, if you want to go on here, brethren, but here where you do. Remember where you live. try and secure something that you can call your home. And when you go out and place there, always know, say, whatever you gather, you build up your home. Don't let that foreign cold place be your permanent home. If you're dead and have to bury this, you don't have to freeze. You have to avoid that. Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis rolling on. It's 20 minutes to midnight. 20 minutes more for the program to finish this edition. And I want to still speak to Jamaica a little bit and how we're dealing with ourselves here as a society. And I want to always bring to the man them consciousness, or the ones and one consciousness, that this island is a colony still. It's a colony. And the purpose of this colony, like most colonies, is to provide resources for the colonizer, the metropole, the main land. So those people who were under the colony of Spain, those islands and those places, the resources of those colonies were really sent to Spain, belonged to Spain. Same thing in the Caribbean, same thing in a place like Jamaica Island. That from the days of the plantation, sugarcane plantation, all of what was gathered as resources left the country. The prize of the time was sugar. In a time when, say, sugar was king. But all of the products went to England. And if you check the culture now of this society when it comes to production, from the days of the plantation, the society has been geared to produce and to export. You have to realize that as a rhythm that has been established in the country, to produce and to export. The slaves produce, the export takes place, and it goes to the land of the slave owners. So from 1655, when the British settled here and established a political structure called the Parliament and monarchy and constitutional monarchy, that ideology has never changed. The ideology behind production connected to export. That has not changed. So when the country became this quasi-independent state in 1962, nothing changed. Bauxite, export. Bananas, export. Sugarcane, export. Human minds, export. So we have been exporting the human brain. Well developed, it exports into foreign countries. So I'm trying to say to the item, when we look at what's happening in Jamaica today, 2018, those who have been put into governance when the British stepped away, none of these groups of leaders or parties have ever tried to change that dynamic. They have just simply slid into the seats of the planter class and the British, and they now have joined the production line, wherein they are the keys and the architects of production, but where do the products and the resources go? They no longer go to England. Where do the resources go? And so that's why I know there's a big fight to get into the parliament, because it's very apparent that the resources of the country are being extracted and into the pockets and the halls of those who control the parliament. It's the parliamentarians now who either say controlling the resources that were normally exported out to other countries. So them is the one who getting rich. They are the ones who are fattening themselves. And in that process, they are encouraging export to a higher level, where we export now our brains and our talents. And not only export them to develop them to return, but export them to stay abroad. That these people can stay here and control the ignorant few. Because once you travel, your perspective change. And if you travel and you live in a society where it's run in a certain organized way, it's difficult to come back to a society that is disorganized. You're going to leak out. But when those who govern have no interest in upgrading even the parliament that they are in, because it would usurp their own power, Jamaica is like a runaway train where there's no leadership, there's no governance, there's no commitment, there's no loyalty to Jamaica from the leaders who are in politics. The only place in Jamaica you can really go and find real loyalty is in the world of sports. And that too is shifting, because the sportsmen are realizing that the governance and the politicians and the men of money are not willing to finance them when their talent is developing. They're willing to come on board when they have achieved. So they're switching identity now. They'd rather go to Britain and represent Britain and get a better treatment than stay here and work and suffer and then achieve greatness for these people to come around and pat you on your back and tell you how great you are. So I am saying this to say the part that is designed by the governance is for people to leave here. And the media maintains the propaganda of violence, that those who are abroad are afraid to come home. I have a fleshy living in Texas. Him do even want to come to the airport. Him feel that man going to shoot him from the gallery. That is the strength of the propaganda. I have another freshie who is here, right now in Ocho Rios. Hail up Claude. And he's making his journeys here regularly twice a year. So there are those who are conscious enough to see through the propaganda and recognize that you have to come in and claim Jamaica. And there are those who are so scared of the propaganda. And there are those who are conscious of the tribalism and the classism and just can't deal with it. People who can't make professional progression because of they don't belong to a certain tribe. People can't make professional progression because they don't belong to any party. So it's them thing they know, a stifle Jamaica and encouraging youths to run away. And when they run away, unfortunately, they don't secure no land before them run away. So when Uncle Sam and Trump and these guys and Theresa May decide to say run them home, there's no home for them. So you see all of them who are abroad, because in real life, from age 16 to 60, you have about 40 years to burn the oil, You see, after that, if you have nowhere to live, you can call yourself a relic. And we're talking about living now in a place where the climate is manageable. To be living in America after 60 is critical. To live in America before you reach 10 is critical. So make it work out the balance and make it upgrade and see if we can maintain Jamaica as a place to really live and work and to progress. A place where we can overcome classisms and overcome the tribalisms and begin to see nation with black majority population. Metamorphosis.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Sitting here watching fools by themselves when they should all be thinking of getting to know themselves. While life goes on, everyone's got to stand strong. You can't surrender, no. Giving your heart and soul to vanity makes your life filled with pain and misery. While life goes on, everyone's got to stand strong. You can't surrender, no. Oh no.
As the program winds down, we've got to hear those who have been hailing, hail up Nova. And hailing up the ones, Donna from the Photo Bank in Port Antonio. Hail up Jackie up in Norwich Heights. Dirks, Patrick, very long time, but I hail them. So hail up all the ones and ones in Norwich Heights, hail up all the ones and ones in Shatover. Hail up the Bumble community in general, Lighthouse and, Shatover and Lancey and the Empress and the family there. Hail up all the ones and ones who are in the valleys and the hills of Portland and St. Mary and St. Thomas and St. Anne's in this confederation. This confederation of Bogle and Nanny and Tackley and Garvey. Confederation of culture. So healing all those who are listening to the Metamorphosis in St. Thomas. Heal up Long Road and Highway and Duckens Field and Seafort and all them various districts there. St. Thomas Technical and whatever, you know. So, yeah, Metamorphosis, constantly trying to prod and push the envelope of thought because we have been encouraged from a very early age. Don't think about that. Anything you said, don't think about that. Anything come up, don't think about that. Now we are in a stage where we have to think about all things. And we recognize that thinking is not just a conscious activity. We engage in subconscious thinking, subconscious thought. The mind, the imagery of the mind is like that of an iceberg. When you look into the ocean and you see an iceberg, what you see in the surface, no matter how big it is just 1/10. Below the ocean is something that is 9/10 bigger. And it's the same way with our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is 9 times bigger than the conscious mind. So we have to spend time investigating the subconscious thoughts, our desires and our emotions. We talk about spirituality. I want to know whether there is any difference between spiritual and emotion and being emotional. Yeah, emotionality and spirituality, I'm saying they are the same. Somebody have to split the hairs and make the clarification. So we have to exercise thought and the increased power within the eye, connection with the cosmos. We can move out of the spiritual zone and the spirituality thing. Everybody know escape religion and lock up into spirituality, but there are spiritual wars being fought. So we want to escape all that kind of war there too. We can see we can move to a level where there is harmony. We can get into the cosmics, where there's no competition and there's no contestation within the cosmics. Yeah, that me really say as we go through Metamorphosis. Yeah, but I heal up the people who live in North America, the various states of Trump, from California straight across to New York and from the north to the south, Atlanta and the Carolinas and, you know, all the places where people dwell and have to find consciousness to maintain themselves. Heal all the ones who are tuning into Facebook at Metamorphosis and at Dr I MAN BLAK and at Iman Blak. Heal up and welcome to all those who are viewing and observing through that medium, especially the brethren and sisters on the continent. Not for you coming through Metamorphosis now and getting a chance to hear black thinking in a space where we weren't as oppressed as the item in Africa with the Bible. We could have run with a little bit and hold a meditation in the mountains. We weren't so convinced that African history was wiped away. So we have a little edge. And we have used the edge to sharpen, because iron sharpen it, iron. Even all the brethren and sisters in UK, in Europe, in Australia, and right here in the Caribbean, various islands. Even my brethren in St. Catherine, and right here in Port Antonio, Titchfield Hill, Sir Dunstan and the Domino crew. Town talk, always talking the town business. Yeah, Metamorphosis, healing out all ones and ones.
Our freedom was once taken. Don't wanna live no more in chains. That's why I call a black liberation struggle. Now give up the fight, no.
Yeah, there's one WhatsApp here with no name, but the person says, we have internalized our oppression and now we oppress ourselves. It's called internalized oppression. Yes, and we need to come face to face with that and reject those ideas. Yeah, we have to move away. We have to release ourselves, exercise ourselves of the ghost of low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is a dopey, you know. We have to purge that dopey out of our being. Because without self-esteem, there is no self-respect. Yeah, man, just check that, you know. You have to have self-esteem. And to have self-esteem, you have to understand the history of yourself. And yourself is not an individual. You're a part of a group, a race, a family. But once there's self-esteem, there's self-respect. And with the respect now, you get your self-confidence. Yeah, and with self-confidence now, you move towards being self-reliant. And once you're self-reliant, you're talking about no self-rule. Yeah, self-governance. But those are stages of self-expression. First thing you have to do is identify and liberate the self. You have to find that concept, separate now from the soul and all them things and spirit where they mix you up with. It's all about clarifying our own being, that we can let out the powers that really represent the God forces. So fire, air, and water are God forces. So is the mind, is a God force. So is the eye, is a God force. Metamorphosis.
He watereth the hills from his chambers, and the earth is satisfied, so satisfied. He maketh the grass to grow for grass. Jah made the herb for man. He made the herb for man. Jah made the herb for man. Fret not thyself because of evildoers.
So Peter Mackenzie, Jamaica, saying that Jamaica is a country of colonial classism. Well, we are a colony. We're certainly suffering from classism. But you see the tribalism, why that cause the violence, you know? Yeah, man, I will not face it up, orange and green thing. So until we decide to let go the Governor General, you know, orange and green rule. Yeah, we have to let go the Governor General. So we can get them guys there who, you know, the colors to face the blackness of the population. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Yes. All ones and ones. Whose name I don't call, heal up. Heal up Melanie. Melanie's telling me on Facebook that this program is now her new addiction. Very flattering. I'm not flattered easily. Thank you for the compliment. Yes, metamorphosis going through.
It's your music, reggae music, as far as I can see. I see that it's your music. Got a spell on me. This your music, Rasta music, as far as I can see. This your music, roots music, it's got a hold on me. It can make you feel so happy. Yeah. To keep me safe and guide
travel on my way. Temptation is so strong, but I must
Hey, my brother Claude. You know, so me really I gotta try make a move in the morning, but it's looking tight, you know. Yeah, looking tight. Man really want to make the trot, you know, come down the ends there. Pour the eye forward. But I can't tell you so you're going really happen. It's more in the thoughts. But if you don't see eye in the flesh, you know, say the eye is within my brain. But we can still speak. Seeing? So I must have set out. Because I know the eye is listening. And head up to your children. Head up to the rest of my other brother. And my other brother. And all of my brothers and sisters. Yes. Metamorphosis. Iman Blak. Saying unto thy then. Be peaceful and be kind to thyself.
We are going. And this red, gold and green train. Oh yes.